Recording live from.
This is Whaley's room.
What if you got famous for doing these videos?
I don't think that
That
would
would turn
happen.
into like Khan Academy.
Yeah.
Whaley Academy.
Really.
I mean, it would be cool. I don't know if they got famous for doing math videos, but
Khan. Wait, what's his first name?
Con.
Gang is Khan.
You're gonna make me snort.
What happened?
You like sat up and all the cereals just rolled down the front of you.
Why do you eat cereal out of the bag?
okay, so we're gonna do 4 variable equations. When you're doing 4 variables, your answer is x, y, z, w. W does not go first.
That's bad.
Okay, so on like 3 equations, your goal is to get 2 equations with 2 variables. When you have 4 equations, your first goal is to get 3 equations with 3 variables. So every time you add an equation, you have to break it down to one thing smaller. So we're going to try to get 3 equations with 3 variables. So I always think of like canceling. So like, what do you want to cancel? Just give me something.
X.
Okay, so if I want to cancel x's, I need to get 3 equations that don't have an x. Do I have any already?
The middle.
Okay, so this would be one equation without an x, another equation without an x. I need 3 equations, so we have to break it down. Since we start with 4, we need to get 3. If you start with 3, you go to 2, okay? So now I need to figure out how can I get these 2 together to cancel the x. So like if I have x plus 3w equals 4, and 2x minus y plus 4z equals 5. How can I get the x's to cancel? Don't worry about the other variables. What can I multiply this one by?
-2.
-2. So then that one is -2x, oops, minus 6w equals -8. And then the other one stayed the same. Okay, so my x's cancel. So then I'm just going to write everything that goes in order. So y, z, then w. So this would be -y plus 4z minus 6w equals -3. So now I have my third equation that doesn't have x. Okay. So now I'm gonna write those 3 up here. So 2y minus z minus w equals 0. 3y, 1, and okay, so I went from 4 equations, now I'm down to 3. I just rewrote them so they're all together. Okay, so now I need to take 3 equations down to 2. So I need to look at my 3 equations and I need to figure out what I want to get rid of. Do you want to get rid of y, z, or w?
Z.
Z. Okay, so I already have one of them that doesn't have z, right? Okay, so I'm just going to label them a's and b's. So I have an a equation. So now I'm going to need a b equation. So I'm going to need to combine, somehow figure out how to get those 2 together to cancel the z.
Multiply by 4.
so we multiply. Okay, so. He said we're gonna multiply the top one by 4. So then I would have 8y minus 4z minus 4w equals 0. Second one stayed the same. So I would have, those z's cancel. So I would have 7y
Bless you. Thank you.
minus 10w equals negative 3. Anybody know what we're gonna do now? None of my markers work. Okay, so now we got it down to 2 equations. So now you're gonna take your 2 equations. And now you have a system of 2. And then you figure out what do you want to cancel. So you want to cancel y's or w's? W, so I would multiply the first one by negative 5. So it would be negative 15y plus 10w equals negative 5. So my w's cancel, so I would have negative 8y equals negative 8. Divide by negative 8, so y equals 1. So you're 1/4 of the way done. Okay, finding the first one's the hardest one, hardest step. Okay, you know how you find the next one?
Plug it in.
Plug it in. Okay, now work your way backwards. So plug this in into one of those 2 equations that just had those 2 variables. You want to do this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that would be 7 times 1 minus 10w equals negative 3. So 7 minus 10w equals negative 3. Subtract 7. So negative 10w equals negative 10. So divide by negative 10, so w equals 1. Alright.
It takes up the entire page.
Yeah, it does. Okay, then you take these 2 answers and you plug it into one of your 3 equations that just had the 3 variables.
Number 1.
You want to do number 1?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm running out of space. I'm gonna erase that.
So,
So. You only have one of these on your homework, so. Okay, so if I plug the, you said you want to do the first one? Okay, so that would be 2 times 1 minus z minus 1 equals 0. So 2 minus z minus 1 equals 0. Negative z plus 1 equals 0. Negative z equals, so z equals 1. Alright, then how do you think we're going to find x? We plug all those in, right? Okay, now, go with the easiest one. What's the easiest one to find x?
the top.
The top one, okay, because it only has 2 things going on. So that would be x plus 3 times 1 equals 4. So x equals 1. Okay, your point is x, y, z, w. So 1, 1, 1, 1.
Not that it matters right now.
It didn't matter on this one, did it?
To this form.
Alright, we have one story problem. You want me to write it down?
Nah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you an answer.
Kansas City Chiefs make their Super Bowl?
Oh, Black American. Oh,
1967.
If you want to.
If you want to, I'll give you a couple minutes if you want to. Yeah, I don't like your notes, so it's up to you.
Okay.
That's a lot of work.
I already did a lot of work, I don't like it anymore.
Yeah. Already felt it.
Well, let's just, wait, is this the last thing? So
Yeah.
if we, okay, well, let's just go then.
So you ready to go? Okay.
You tell her, Katie.
Alright, and Super Bowl I on January 15th, 1967, the Green Bay Packers defeated Kansas City Chiefs by a score of 35-10. Total points scored came from 13 different scoring plays, which were a combination of touchdowns, extra point kicks, and field goals. Were 6, 1, and 3 points respectively. Same number of touchdowns and extra points were scored. There were 6 times as many touchdowns as field goals. How many touchdown, extra point kicks, and field goals were scored during the game? Okay, what do we do?
Find your variable.
Find your variables, what do you want to use?
X and Y and,
Z.
yeah.
Okay. So, let's make extra touchdowns. Let's make Y your extra points. And Z your field goals. Okay. How many scoring plays were there?
It's 13.
13. So if I add all of the kinds of scoring plays we had, that has to equal 13. What's another equation we could have that has something to do with? Points, okay, so 6 points for touchdown, 1 point for extra points, 3 points for field goals. How many points total were scored?
40.
45. Okay, we know the same number of touchdowns and extra points were scored. So we know once we find touchdowns or extra points, it's the same. So we know X is the same thing as Y. Okay, and you actually could use one more equation. You can't, you don't have to. You just have to have 3 equations because there's 3 things. But what about the other one? There were 6 times as many touchdowns as field goals. That means if you take your field goals times 6, that's going to be how many touchdowns you have. Okay, now you only need to use 3 equations in order to solve this. Okay? And I would go, I mean, it doesn't matter which one to use, okay? Do you have a preference? I was just going to use the first 3. Are you okay with that? Okay. So if I'm going to use the first 3, first thing I want to do is I want this to look like those. So if I make this look like that, that would actually be X minus Y equals 0. Does everybody understand how that happens? Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I need to get down to 2 equations with 2 variables. So this one already has just X and Y. So I need to combine these 2 to cancel out the Z's. So what would I need to do to get the Z's to cancel? These are my 2 equations. Good, multiply this first one by -3. So it would be -3x minus 3y minus 3z was -39. So then you'd have 3x minus 2y equals 6. So there's equation 1, here's equation 2. And then we're going to put those 2 together. Okay, and then you get down to 2 equations. What variable do you want to cancel on this time? The y's, okay, so we're gonna cancel y's, we multiply the top one by -2. So -2x plus 2y equals 0. Second one stays the same. Y's cancel, so this would be x equals 6. Okay, how would I find y?
Plug it into.
Okay, so if I plug it into, let's just say this one, that would be 6 minus y equals 0. So that means 6 equals y. And then how would I find z? Okay, so you have a couple options. Since you had that fourth equation, you can plug this in and solve for z. Or if you didn't write this one down, you have to take both of those and plug them into one of the top two. Is everybody okay if I just use that one since we already wrote it? Okay. So it would be 6 equals 6z, so z equals 1. Okay, story prompts you to write what it means. So what does x equals 6 mean?
6 touchdowns.
Okay, and there's 6 touchdowns,
6 field goals. Well, 1 happens.
6 extra points, and how many field goals?
1.
1 field goal.